Welcome to People Behind the Trade. I'm the host, Mr London Plummer. I've been a plumber for over 20 years with loads of experience and stories, but I can't tell the stories of a bricklayer or your female electrician who've just got into the industry and is facing diversity. So that's why I'm going to be bringing on special guests onto my podcast to be able to speak about their life experiences, the ups and the downs, the struggles, and the reason why they're in the industry which they've chose for themselves. Whether it be a bricklayer who is laying 1,000 bricks a day, we want to know what keeps you motivated to lay those 1,000 bricks. Is it money or is it other things? What do you concentrate on when you're at work? These are the conversations which I'm going to be having on my podcast with my special guests, but I'm also going to explain a little bit about myself, how I got into the industry, and what point I'm at now, and what led me to the point of starting People Behind the Trade podcast. So as I explained before, my name is Mr London Plummer. I got into plumbing when I was about 18 from my uncle, who is also a plumber, a second generation Jamaican plumber, who continued on the family legacy while seeing his nephew as someone who is possibly able to start this plumbing legacy back up again. And here I am today, 20 years later, 20 tool bags later, ready to talk about plumbing, but also exploring other people's challenging journey when it comes to being in the construction industry. The construction industry has so many different parts to it, moving parts which help everything come together as a whole. So that's why I thought it would be good to bring on loads of different guests from different parts of the construction industry who definitely play key roles. And there are a lot of people who are looking up to them for guidance, but also advice and life advice as well, because I feel that that's not given out enough when it comes to our podcast or our younger generation. And these episodes are to motivate the younger generation and people who are in it as well to be able to understand that we do come across problems at times as tradespeople. We're not the only people with problems because everybody's got them. But how we deal with them and how we vent and maybe exercise our minds from the stress full of just doing jobs and everyday life is important, because it will help others. It will help others within them development, and it will help other people realize that we all are kind of pretty much the same, but we just do a job. But I want to get to the point of people's careers as well. So I want to ask people, why did you start plumbing? Or why did you start a course in bricklaying? What made you think that you wanted to be a bricklayer? Was it something that you watched on TV? Was it because impact and influence comes from a lot of places? And I think we're blessed to have things like social media and platforms where I can share this podcast over visuals and also share it over audio as well. So podcasts like this will have an impact on people when they want to get into the industry, when they want to learn a little bit more about people who are in the industry. So that's really good. But previously, what was your influence? My influence myself was my uncle. Growing up, I definitely saw tools around in the garage a lot, pipe benders, a lot of fittings, loads and loads of fittings, gas gun, all types of stuff. And I was young. I had a push bike then. You only really needed a spanner or something like that to do up your loose back wheel. Other than that, I wasn't really touching tools. Had no fascination. Only when it was time to fix things, but I definitely wanted to use them when I wanted to fix things. So I think maybe that and a bit of Meccano's as I was growing up probably got me into wanting to take things apart, to wanting to put them back together. But I do remember growing up vividly, family members, my uncle and my mum telling me that, yeah, you definitely like to take stuff apart when you was younger. So maybe it stemmed from stuff like that. I'm still doing it today. So old habits sometimes don't die hard. But what I want to explain to people about is as well is the diversity within the industry, which doesn't exist. And sometimes the problems what you do face going through those types of things, because there's not often a lot of platforms that are willing to, indulge into that and really have a deep dive conversation about it. I know some things might seem a little bit uncomfortable for some people, but this is just life. We all live amongst each other. So these are conversations which people have behind closed doors, but we need to have in front of people so people have a more of an understanding about how another person feels about that situation or that person or something happening within the working environment. So this is all things which I'm going to be talking about on my podcast. So definitely do look out for all of the episodes, and I will be announcing most of the guests which I will be having on. So I plan to have on a range of different guests, ranging from younger apprentices to actually having a few older plumbers and engineers on to be able to speak about their experiences, and also being able to reach out to people who are in different trades, like carpenters, like electricians, I'm even going to speak to a drainage engineer as well, because I feel that I see that popping up quite a lot when people say, oh, I'm going to do plumbing, but I'm going to do gas or I'm going to do drainage. I think people need to have a conversation or listen to a conversation from a drainage engineer, from their perspective on what they do every day, to understand, is this something you want to do? What I've seen and what I like is a lot of people showing their days in their life when it comes to social media, because in reality, that is some part of your day. It might not be a full fun day, but it's your day, and every day is different. So showing diversity within your day shows the type of tasks which you will possibly take on as a tradesperson. Not every day am I unblocking a toilet. I mean, I could probably count the amount of blocked toilets what I do with one hand in a month. It's not really something that I do personally. It's something that I've done in the past. It's something that I'm not really ashamed to talk about, even on any platform, because for me, work is work at the end of the day. And me signing up to being a tradesperson, I kind of knew what I was going to get myself involved in. So I was quite happy with, you know, being a plumber and understanding that that is some part of my job. And it's not something that I'm going to openly start freely talking about to people, like when I'm at a bar, but I'm definitely understanding that it's something that someone like myself, I can do. And it's a service. So having a service-based business also allows you to have a lot of interactions with customers as well. How we deal with customers and people and our customer service is, it's going to be subjective, because some people are going to say they're really good. Some people are going to say they deal with people like this. I really want people to get to the point of talking about the difficult jobs and the difficult people, what they have had, because everybody's had a difficult customer. And it's how you deal with that situation doesn't determine how you are. It's just how professional you are at that specific time. And the things what you know now, what you wish you knew a little bit earlier. So when I was doing my apprenticeship, worked in customer service in JD Sports, and that allowed me to have a lot more confidence to be able to talk to people when serving them, but also asking them what they would want. So that built up a lot of confidence when I was young. So when I had finished my plumbing apprenticeship, we was going into properties anyway, and a few times, the plumber who I worked with allowed me to talk to the customer and let them know what was going on and what we was going to do. And it was just like that little shift of responsibility. But again, at that point, I knew I was obviously growing up, because I was now allowed to speak to the customer and tell them what's going on. And I've moved past just carrying the bag and just doing the heavy duty, like type of, apprentice vibe work. I'm now doing the plumbing work, and I'm now being allowed to explain what I'm doing because I know what I'm talking about. Because enough times my plumber has asked me, what are we doing now? Explain to me what we're doing. So often that whole conversation in the van when that used to happen, or what we're going to do today, explain to me what we're going to do today, explain to me what materials we need, all of these types of conversations built up to me being the person I am today, which I definitely do want to get to with other people, because the build up to other people is always going to be unique and different. So everybody's story is going to be unique and different. We're going to have a different person on, like, every single time I do an episode. And we're going to also have a really good episode, which is going to be my first time ever. Like, and I will be interviewing my uncle, the person who actually got me into plumbing. So that will be really interesting because they can tell my journey better than I can because they were there, and tell it from their eyes and not my own eyes, because I can tell it when I was there, but I can also have someone bounce off the conversation and add in bits which I probably don't remember, but they definitely did happen, which will be nice for you guys to see. And it will be one of the first times my uncle's ever been on a podcast as well. So that will be interesting, most definitely. So this is me giving you an idea of what the podcast is going to be about, what structure we're going for, and what outcome we're going for as well. It's always a positive message to be able to push to people, because in this world, in this life, we have enough negative messages out there. So we want to push more positive, inviting, and also encouragement as well, because we always need these things. I've always had someone who I've referred to as a mentor. So I think it's a great thing to encourage mentors amongst younger generations to be able to push them in the right way. This podcast is called People Behind the Trade with Mr London Plummer.